Well, hello, and welcome to today's edition of Three Questions with Mary at Anderson's Bookshop in Grange. Today is the fortune telling edition, and we are so happy to have new author Keziah Frost with us today with her brand new book, The Reluctant Fortune Teller. So, Keziah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
And you have a friend here today as
I
well.
have my little dog, Callie. She's very important. She's always sitting at my feet when I write, so she wanted to come.
She's your muse.
Yeah, she's my muse.
I love it. Well, do you mind if I ask you three questions?
Please do.
Fabulous. So, I think a lot of people believe that once you actually get a book done and sent to a publisher, that the work is kind of over. Is that true?
That is not true. There's still a lot more writing to do. You write essays. There's a publicist at the publishing company, and he works very hard, or she works very hard. In my case, it's a man, Emer, who works very hard actually finding places for the essays that I would write, also sending the book out to reviewers. So, for example, this book, The Reluctant Fortune Teller, has already been reviewed on Kirkus and Booklist. So we are having our interview on February 1st, and yet the book doesn't come out yet until March 6th. It's already been reviewed, and this is to let readers know. So if this is their kind of book, they'll be hearing about it and be ready to go and buy it when it comes out.
Yes.
So and also visiting bookstores. That's another thing authors do before the book even comes out. So you get to do fun interviews like this.
We were thrilled to get advanced copies of this book, and it's a wonderful book.
Oh, thank you.
And it's about a fortune teller. It's about an older gentleman who's, kind of late in life and in a rut and doing his just usual daily thing. And then a series of events happen, and now his life has changed. What drew you to write about a fortune teller?
About a fortune teller in particular, well, I grew up with a fortune-telling mother. I guess as I was growing up, I thought everybody did, and that's not the case. And so as I grew up, we always had books about palmistry, numerology, astrology, all of those kinds of things. It was very normal, and I think my mom and I kind of bonded over it. And then as I grew up and went to college, I moved away from that, and if you'd asked me, I would have said, no, I don't believe in those things. That's just, it's just something people do to amuse themselves, but how could logically, any of that have any bearing? My kids have told me that while I say I don't believe in that stuff, they say, Mom, you totally believe in all of it. So I think I'm kind of ambivalent on the subject, feeling that no, I don't believe in it, and yet there's that willing suspension of disbelief with fortune telling, just as there is with fiction. You kind of let that go and open your mind sometimes to it. So I'm kind of ambivalent, like Norbert is. And the way it started, actually the idea for it was, I was tossing around ideas with one of my daughters, Claire, about short story ideas. And she said, why don't you write a story about a fortune teller who doesn't believe in the fortunes, but the fortunes keep coming true? And that was the spark that started the book.
That is very cool. And your backstory, certainly, I feel, having read this, comes out in this, in your knowledge and your familiarity. So that just adds to it greatly. And in your book, there are some very nosy and manipulative ladies that just get very involved in his life. Are they based on anyone you know?
Well, Carlotta in particular, right? She's the leader. And if Carlotta was based on somebody real in my life, would I tell you?
I'm guessing probably not.
No, I would not admit that. However, I think Carlotta is maybe the shadow side of a lot of people. She's manipulative. She needs to be the smartest person in the room. She enjoys having power over people, and
she's doing it for your own good.
Always, she tells herself it's
yes.
exactly.
Yes.
That's a big part of it. Yes, people need her to lead them because they don't know. So she was a really fun character to write. I found her easy and fun to write about. And based on a real person, you know, as I say, I think we all have a little bit of Carlotta in us. And I think she might have a cousin in the literary world and I don't know how many Americans are familiar with this series, but Lucia and Matt, Queen Lucia, that was written in the 20s and the 30s, and it was written by E.F. Benson. It's an English series. And I remember reading that and laughing out loud and being so grateful to the author for making me laugh and being so impressed with how through the decades you can have this meeting of the minds with an author and communicate in that way. But I really appreciate his Lucia, and although she's not the same as Carlotta, but they would understand each other, let's put it that way. So
that is awesome. Well, you are going to be at Anderson's Downers Grove location on March 6th.
Yes.
To launch this wonderful book.
Yes.
So I encourage all of you to stop by our Downers Grove at 7 p.m. that night. You can meet Keziah. You can hear more about her book. You can pick up a copy at that time as well. And following that event, all 3 Anderson stores will have autographed copies for you to purchase. Thanks so much for coming with. You know, I feel like I've got a bit of intuitiveness to myself, and I believe that my intuition is telling me this book is going to be a big hit.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love having my fortune told. Thanks.
Thank you, Keziah.
Thank you.